Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Wednesday, 13 December 2023. We meet today to talk about EGLD, ELROND's crypto. So as usual, we're going to dissect this video into two parts. A fundamental part, we're going to come back to ELROND, to the role of EGLD on MultiversX, because now it's really the real name. I'm still having trouble getting used to it. And then we will go to the graphs to project ourselves in the short, medium, long-term on-purchase prices, sales prices. And you will see that on the news, we still have a lot of things to cover because that in particular, there is an announcement which was made a few hours ago, around 20 hours, less than 24 hours, and perhaps we will say one day at most, the announcement of staking for. And we see that the discussions are already intense around this, and I will explain to you why. If you want to train and really enjoy bull running, it's simple. There is perfect, complete, free training available. It's through an educational journey that teaches you everything about blockchain, crypto, investment, technical analysis, and trading. All this for free in comments and descriptions. You have exercises, multiple choice questions, modules, videos, guides, everything to support you in your progress. We're already going to go back to the fundamentals to what ELROND is, Multiverse #X now. So it's a level 1 blockchain that was launched in the Ethereum killer's wave at the time when Ethereum was totally saturated, and we were in a wave of decentralized finance where it was important to have platforms in which we could deploy decentralized finance protocols. Behind, ELROND had a really strong image around a solution for companies to be able to develop decentralized applications. Now they are much more open with their new image around the mainstream, and that is very visible because suddenly we are in a level 1 blockchain in total transaction. Now we must be around 350 million approximately transactions. We have approximately the same number of validators and we are approximately in the same costs in terms of transactions. So we still have a blockchain with big stats here in which we still have a form of decentralization which is okay for a new player. We have transaction costs which are really very low. And we have transactions per second, which are still relatively high through their notion of sharding, which is rather innovative in the sense that we will have a multitude of shardings which will recorrelate with each other. And it is one of the first for really pushing the technology into the implementation like that. Next to it, we find ourselves in a schematic which is a little different in the historical design of other blockchains. Yes, they defined that they were going to have a multitude of products, that they were going to rename X something. We will have X Fabric, which will allow us to quickly design and deploy a decentralized application on ELROND, and finally on MultiversX. Then we will have X Portal, which allows access in general to the entire ecosystem. We will then have X World, and we will have X Money, Crypto, X Money Fiat, X Wallet, X Exchange, etc. Overall, they have derived everything in this way. We see it clearly during the announcement of the rebranding, which was carried out in 2022, and we see an ecosystem which is still very, very important. So it's from April. I still haven't found a new map ecosystem, which is rather clean. But we have an ecosystem which is very important. And we have a lot of decentralized applications which are built, and which are in the process of being implemented. Build on MultiversX. So we have an ecosystem which is still alive, and in which we see that we have a roadmap which is relatively important, because they are in the process of changing quite a few things. They are in the process of instantiating in particular the notion of scroll-up within MultiversX. And I remind you that their desire is to have an application that will be a great application. And that is exactly what we are seeing. When we look at the ELROND wallet, we have the messages. We have the possibility of managing their funds. We have lots of features which are being added little by little, and clearly it is their goal to actually become a super application. And to do this, they need to have a huge number of transactions per second. And the goal for them is to aim for the block time at 1 second, therefore the finality at 1 second, which is enormous in terms of finality, and have more than 1 lock transactions per second, with precisely the implementation of the ZKR log that they are currently doing. So on their testnet, that's pretty much what they are. Arriving, and we should even arrive at more, at 2 lock 50,000. So once again, be careful, these are the testnet, this is their representation. So for me, we will see online what it looks like on the sets of validators that they have. And we have the announcement that was made regarding Fascal stacking. So this is very important. It is here. This will be the way in which the stacking will be distributed and how the nodes will be chosen for the validation of transactions. And why do I say it's very important? Because this is where everything will play out in terms of decentralization. And that's a bit of the discussion that takes place. Unfortunately, the information has only been around for quite a while. So I started reading. I started working on the subject. but clearly, there is a real topic on the grouping of allocations for the different blocks. The representation is as follows, that there will be within the different groups of validators votes, which will be carried out to select the existing validators, and that the accessibility conditions are relatively restrictive, enough to potentially push all independent validators, which are not large structures, from the validation of MultiversX. So, for me, there are two things. I think that what pushes this element to is the continuation. It is ire that to arrive at transactions like that, the notion of hardware will be really very important, and the notion of infrastructure too. All right? That means that we must have people who are professional, who have the means, who are capable of investing to arrive at these types of statistics. And secondly, we always find ourselves in the following problem, which is that if we want to arrive at statistics, it is complicated to achieve it with decentralization. This means that we have a plurality of actors, that we must limit our performances to be able to accept everyone, and therefore behind us, we will end up on things that will not happen on their finality, their roadmap. That for me is the image necessary to achieve that. In any case, it is the representation necessary to achieve that in their perspective and in their development. Clearly, I think that's it. And I think that there will be a big discussion about it. I think that it will pass. But I think that there will certainly be perhaps even a split in the community, and the departures of some validators we will need. See precisely the number of nodes that will remain, and especially the distribution of actors owning the nodes. We don't really have this information. It's a little complicated to find it, especially to keep it up to date. But in any case, I think we will have a drastic change, and that's where we will have to monitor on Multiver. Desire for a super application, and which has done a big rebranding for the mainstream to clearly prepare for the next bull run. For me, we are still in something that is relatively solid. Then, at the technical level, very interesting. You will see we have a schematic which is rather classic, in which we have first phase of acceleration, reaccumulation, second phase of acceleration, here which was done in 2 stages. First, reaccumulation, second, okay? So we are really in something classic in which we set up a distribution in BC, Arkansas, ST, sign of weakness. So we are in a rather classic distribution. Here we had a structural distribution in which we had a BC, Arkansas, ST, SL, Utah, UTAD. So we actually liquidated the price. So bullish acceleration, we distribute the price, we reaccumulate, we go for the higher liquidity, and then we redistribute. Then we break bearish. In this bearish breakout, what is interesting is really the way in which it was done, and that is really damaging. It was done, one already, because November was very complicated. 2021, we was already in an overexpansion of the market, and then they launched their DEX, which was Meyer, with $15 billion of token distribution, and inevitably we had a takeoff in the EGLD where we went from $300 to a top made at $550 to be able to stack onto the Meyer, and we see that afterward it was no longer profitable at all, especially since here in these big candles we have the fall of the market, and above all a change in the conditions of allocation of the incentive, and therefore behind that was totally collapsed. People lost a lot. A lot of money, actually. In this passage, what I know is that I already know a lot of people who had bought between 350 and 500 to try to farm Meyer, except that they were simply taught and resold at a loss. And we see that we have arrived in a very low zone, which is rather classic, in which we have reconstructed an accumulation. Accumulation which was very complicated to maintain with an SC, STB, spring, but which was really downhill and which was really not bullish. I told you, be careful. It's complicated as long as you don't have a reversal. It's really complicated, however, when we have a reversal. We will have an acceleration. So here it happened. We broke the descending channel here. We made the structural break here. We went to collect all the liquidity that had been left since May 2023 until July 2023. We went to collect all that cash. Big acceleration, temporalization, second big acceleration, and there we went to look for the higher liquidity, in fact, from the different ARs. The AR of the STB and the AR of the ST, which is rather positive, and we went to retest the main AR, the $70, which is really important. What is a shame, on the other hand, is that we did not consolidate above. There we would have had a strong signal, but nevertheless, in any case, we had a strong retest. So that means that the spring is really validated for me. So for my part, I tend to tell you that we could have a retest, but it will remain either a retest here of the important levels of the 53 between and 55, which is for me a very important level of resistance. And if we really sink in and we go looking very low, we can go and look here 30, which will be an addition if I don't say stupid things. A breaking level of this trend there. That's it. We will be approximately at this level. So with here a resistance level, which was the accumulation ranging, the last accumulation ranging with the spring. If we ever validate this acceleration too, and we continue to develop the ecosystem, that we continue to draw liquidity and have precisely applications that are used, and that we also manage to have this notion of great app, we can very easily go and retest for my first target here the resistance level, which was support and which was broken by Terra Luna at 125, which will really be a crucial level for EGLD, and then we will go and get the liquidity following. The next big liquidity will be the 300 levels, between 285 and 300, which is the really breakout level where people started to capitulate to Myers' changes. And then we could settle in a large wave. 1, a large wave 2, and therefore a large wave 3, Elliotist for a target at 1618, with an EGLD around 900 at the end of the bull run, with behind an increase in incentives, the proper functioning of EGLD, truly functional rebranding. From MultiversX, in which we attract classic retail and therefore behind the implementation of a super application which could be interesting. Technologically, it's something that is solid. We have to see how it will behave in relation to the different narratives, and that will be the crucial point of this next bull run. Will EGLD and MultiversX be in the next narrative? I hope you liked this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. And share. It supports the channel, it supports the work that I do every day, and we'll meet again tomorrow 7 for the daily to come back to crypto news and come back to BTC and movements in the macro economy. It's tomorrow 7.